Hi, welcome back channel, TrainStation2. Alright, the end of Train Tycoon, and of course, very happy to get share here, get first on this. 76 golden parts, I think that's really precious. If you have been looking into gathering parts, I think Train Tycoon is one of those. And of course, along the way in the main events, there are chances that you can gather parts if you are willing to give up on those trains. So that's your choice after all. So I'm actually very actively trying to complete my Japan jobs because there's a long way to go. I mean, every single deliveries in Japan is sometimes quite painful. The fact that the items asked for, or be it the fact that the items that need to be delivered really takes a long while. Of course, I do understand the Easter, as I've shown in the previous video, is coming. Sometimes you could prepare for such mini events if you are keen to get more of those parts and even gold. So I think something to ID for would be the gold packs that allow you to change for the Easter event. So there's something you can look forward to, especially you're running dry on your gold reserves. Alright, so that's all I could share in terms of that Easter until we comes into actually playing it, probably in a couple of hours or a day. So when it comes to that, make sure if you could starting late is always the choice, because then it's not as competitive. Then of course, if you're talking about Train Tycoon itself, how do you actually gather all the items required, or how do you actually fulfill the train's requirement, be it upgrades? So for train upgrades, for me, I'm always using the previous regions because those are the cheapest in a way. But if you're talking about practicality, whether is there any use in upgrading all region trains, actually there's no use to your own so-called current region usage, because apparently whatever you upgrade the previous region, you can't use it anyway. But why am I using that as a choice? Is because it requires very little in terms of parts and gold to make an upgrade, especially where sometimes they ask for 2 or 3 train upgrades. I think that's the fastest and cheapest way to do so, and you'll get 3 stars from the Train Tycoon. So it's a choice in that context. And of course, do you use this union play to do all the deliveries, the requirements? For example, if in Train Tycoon requirements 9 rare trains, you may having a hard time if you've always been using your main dispatchers in the main event, or your normal region jobs. But using the union trains actually helps at that part as well. In terms of using the trains, or how much should you be delivering, if you're talking about Train Tycoon, deliver with the smallest capacity, so that you can use the resources or the available items that you have for multiple transport over using type of trains. So for example, if there are a requirement of 9 common, if you are using a highly upgraded train of a 30 capacity, vis-a-vis of 4 capacity as a start off, I think you do understand what I'm trying to drive at, is that the 4 capacity trains will still be counted as one train. And if 9 of it is just 36 of that item, vis-a-vis if you use a 30 capacity train, just take away that 30 resource from you. Alright, so generally that's how it works from Train Tycoon. But if you ask again in terms of practicality, does it help to upgrade your items, or upgrade your region jobs fast enough in terms of completion? It doesn't, right? So Train Tycoon actually contradicts to what we used to do normally. We should use the highest capacity train, but in Train Tycoon you want to max out your resource by using the number of dispatches to fulfill the requirements. So sometimes you could think about what's really what you wanted. In terms of Train Tycoon, it's always about winning some parts or coins. So and of course another thing is that winning first in this, even the Train Tycoon mini event, it actually contributes to headquarter points. So this is something you can look forward as well, because headquarter points does give rewards as well. Okay, so generally this is how it work out. And of course in terms of the building upgrades, I think that's also something you want to hold back you have already some ready building upgrades chances, because Train Tycoon also asks for that as well. In terms of the requirements of gathering certain items from certain factories, I think that's easy. Just use the least amount of effort or time to manufacture stuff, because generally, just for example, a sawmill, if you are clicking on books, for example, it will take up 440 space of your warehouse. Vis-a-vis, if you just collect, assuming timber, it's only 40 space, and it doesn't matter in terms of Train Tycoon because it just asks you to have one item from the sawmill. So of course, again, if you really run out of warehouse space, you may well dump away stuff that can be easily manufactured or actually gathered. So there's one way. And the other way of getting rid of stuff very quickly is using the union play, the trading, right? So because it's an unfair trade amount, you put in a lot of items that you have for a very tiny quantity of the union items. So in that context, you are draining away and actually creating more space in your warehouse. All right, so currently 753, really fast. Another 47 levels, and I'll be out of Japan into Egypt. So I'm trying to delay it as much as possible, but at the same time there's a dilemma of trying to fulfill all the Japan jobs, because I really want to unlock a few things. I mean, there's a building that is of course the most prized item, which is the legendary train. If you saw my last video, I found the last legendary which I can get from containers, so I'm saving up containers, and I'll try to get that last legendary out from the region jobs of Japan. Then of course, there's another thing I really wanted to do but really don't have time to do, which is to get my 13th dispatcher, permanent dispatcher. So a lot of light bulbs are required, and light bulbs really take lots of the warehouse spaces, and time in building it is really tough. So this is something that we'll work on. Again, I think generally these are the few things we're going to always work in terms of train capacity, dispatches, warehouse spacing. So it's all revolving around these few items that makes you win in competitions. So I think I'm very confident we'll be winning this, because there's a huge gap. I'm just going to do my thing, whatever I could, to basically build up those items already, because if you want to prepare for Easter, this is something you do. Try to have all your warehouse to the brim, warehouse likewise, as well as the factories to the brim. The factories, once you jam out the output tray, your input tray can act as your additional warehousing. Apparently you put in, for example, wood, you get timber as a manufactured item, but because you're stored at production, then you'll be able to generate immediate instant timber by cancelling the job itself, right? So you get back wood by cancelling the timber job. But of course, if I were you, I'll try to store those main items that require a few sub-components, which is a few types of raw materials. So by cancelling a single item, you have get back to 3 items in a way. So that actually works in terms of very high additional warehousing by using the factory output tray to be jammed out, and then you use it, or by fitting into the input tray. Alright, so we are done here. We got first and 76 gold parts, precious gold parts. Still a surprise, or as I mentioned here, you can see there are 10 packs of gold you can collect. That will be 136,000 for me, and there are 2 profile pictures which are useless, so it's just for the fun of it. Mega box is one, and of course those parts as well. Sometimes you got to compare in terms of the mega box, what can it be generated with. Would it be more beneficial if you just claim the items of the parts directly? So these are some measurements sometimes you got to make some comparisons. In terms of the union jobs, I think it is the toughest part is getting the items ready in exchange for it. So a lot of effort needs to be done. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you good luck in the Bunny Easter. Goodbye.